And for more, we are joined now by Conservative MP Tom Tugendhat, the chairman of the Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee. He is in Westminster in London. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hello.
As we've just heard there, Britain has announced serious punitive measures against Russia. Is this not a little early, considering that there is no proof of Russian involvement, or do you know something that we don't?
There is proof of Russian involvement. This is a Russian defector who's been threatened by the president on several occasions. This is a Russian-made weapons-grade nerve agent made in a laboratory in Moscow, which has now been confirmed by British intelligence and ratified by American and French. This is a very clear pattern. We know in Germany, for example, of Russian information operations and indeed espionage operations that have been extremely active in recent years. We know of the invasions of Ukraine, the destruction and murder of several hundred people in MH17, the aircraft over Ukraine, the annexation of Crimea, the occupation of Georgia, the attempted murder of the Montenegrin Prime Minister. I can go on. This is part of a very long pattern of Russian aggression, and it's got to stop.
So it's not just about this one specific incident. Russia, for its part, it has actually just responded to this. And I just want to bring in what Sergei Lavrov just had to say. He said the Russian response will come very soon. He promises us that. He also said that your accusations are absolutely boorish. If British diplomats are expelled from Russia, do you care?
What is boorish is to allow a chemical that, although it's left 3 people in hospital and 30 people seeking medical treatment, had it been opened on the London Underground, for example, would have killed hundreds of people. And to use it next to a children's playground where, had the children been there, it would have killed 30 or 40 children. This is a completely unacceptable warlike act by a violent and deranged regime that is weakening and lashing out. This is a corrupt dictatorship that has to stop.
I'd like you to respond also to something else that Russia has said in response to your accusations. Russia has implied that Theresa May is trying to look strong in front of her own people, to distract from political problems at home. Is this true?
No. What is true is that the president of Russia knows that he has completely failed to rebuild the Russian economy. He's stolen hundreds of billions of dollars off the Russian people. He and his acolytes, even his cellist has got assets of a few $1 billion, and he didn't get that from recording rights. He's got more money than Elton John. His son-in-law just had to hand over $2 billion. His only qualification was to be the son-in-law of the president, or rather the ex-son-in-law. This is a man who has looted the Russian people and destroyed the Russian economy over 20 years, and he knows it. And so what he's doing is he is lashing out, and he's trying to hide it by playing a hyper-nationalist card. We know this school book. We've read this play before. We've seen the movie. We've seen it sadly, we've seen it across Europe before, and we've got to stand up to it, because the alternative is, if we do not stand up to it now, we will be forced to stand up to it in the future.
And when it comes to standing up to it, we know that both the United States, the French have come forward to back Britain in its accusations toward Moscow. How much is Britain, though, relying on its allies at this precarious time? Because we know, for example, in the United States, when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, that has often been, shall we say, in flux recently.
The United Kingdom has always relied on her allies. We have been a very strong international player, and that's exactly what the Kremlin is trying to undermine. What they're trying to do is to destroy the multilateral system that has kept us safe for 70 years, that has kept us working together. So we are working with our allies. We're working with countries like Estonia and Germany and France and Sweden. We're working with the United States, with the Five Eyes community of Canada and Australia. We're working with NATO, and we are absolutely standing together on this, because we know that we are stronger than a failing Russian regime. It's a weakening state. It's barely capable of deploying its military anymore, as we saw the rather second-rate trawler that went through the English Channel that called itself the Russian aircraft carrier. We are seeing a failed regime and a failing government, and it's a tragedy, because Russia is a great country and should have a great leader, and instead it's got a thief, a liar, and a warmonger.
Pointed words indeed. Tom Tugendhat, Conservative MP for Tonbridge and Malling, joining us from Westminster in London. We thank you so much for your perspective this afternoon.
You're very welcome.